Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Life on Mount Tammany Ridge. As you can see, I'm in a little bit of a different spot this morning. Not down in the wood yard, not in the machine, but outside the machine. And I'm fixing to do a little bit of, I guess, maintenance. I don't think yet that there's anything to repair, or I'll have to take a little bit of a closer look at it as I'm tinkering. But today, it's just basically going to be a rainy day, dreary day, maintenance kind of thing. And so I mentioned in a past video that I was going to get you guys a little bit of a closer look as to how and what modifications I've made to this truck snow plow to work with the skid loader. Now, it's kind of been modified from a truck application, then originally to a tractor application, and now to a skid steer, because the tractor is no longer here, at least the one that was utilizing the snow plow. So I'm going to grab the camera, and I'm going to get a little bit of a better angle so you guys can get a closer look as to exactly what it is that I did here to make this this plow function in the way that I have figured out a way to make it work better for me. I'll be with you in 2 seconds. All right, hopefully you guys will be able to see enough of what I'm showing you here, at least in enough detail for it to make sense. All right, so this snow wave plow, as any of you might be familiar with, the plow company manufacturer, I should say, Snowway. Instead of the traditional lift cylinder up on the rack on the front of the truck with a chain pulling the plow up, and then basically you hit the down button and it just slams down to the ground. This setup is a hydraulic cylinder that is placed within the frame of the plow, and it's all down here. You can see this loop here. Okay, this hose that's looped is something that I have done to help make this work. So I'll get into that in just a minute. Now, here's the cylinder, okay? And then the ram is over here, and it's pushing this way, which automatically used to make the plow come up. All right, so now as far as this hydraulic line here, which is from the kit, I just harvested it off of the pump system and used it here. So what I have done is I have gotten there inside. You might be familiar with what a ram looks like, a hydraulic ram looks like as far as the components. So you have, this is the cylinder, the bigger part, then you have the chrome part, that's the ram, okay? And on that ram is what I would consider a piston, okay? It's like a piston in a car, and it doesn't allow, in this case, fluid to get from one side of the piston to the other. Not that there isn't fluid on the other side of the ram, okay, because rams are a two-directional deal. They can pull and they can push. So there is always fluid on both sides, but it just makes it so that with it full of fluid on both sides, the response to the ram is instantaneous. It's not squishy or floppy or anything like that. So that still stands the same the way I have this set up. However, in this line here, okay, I have left it so that there is air, in the line, okay? And that air, okay, adds that squishy, cushy feeling. Like, for instance, if you've ever swapped out brakes in your car or pickup truck, and you, prior to bleeding the air out of the lines, when you step on the brake pedal and you pump it, okay, and there's air in the line, you will feel the squishiness, okay? Now, in that case, that's bad. You definitely don't want the squishiness. However, in this case, I prefer to have some air in this cylinder. Now, this cylinder, like I said, is not fed by any pumps or anything else like that, so you're not going to be starving a pump of fluid and burning it up or anything like that. This is basically, it's a concealed, it's an isolated system with only one function, okay? So with having the fluid in there, or I should say liquid or oil, and a combination of that with air, okay, it will allow this plow to follow the contour of the ground, okay? But because this is a sealed system, okay, so air can't get in or out, oil can't get in or out, so when I pick up the loader, okay, this plow, okay, will drop. And as it drops, the fluids in this system of, like I said, the combination of both oil and air will begin to compress, okay? And when it compresses, all right, at some point it will run out of room or make, in this case, make the ram stop, okay? It won't be able to pull, okay? And it won't be able to push beyond a certain angle, okay? So that makes it so that, like I said, when I roll my bucket, when I pull my scoop function on the lever and I roll the bucket back or the plate, okay, at some point this blade will leave the ground, okay? And I can, for the most part, without having to do too much work with the actual loader, I can just roll back this plate, okay, for the bucket function, all right? Roll it back to pick it up and drop it down to let it drop. Now, the further forward I allow this plate to roll forward as if I was dumping a bucket, okay, that will actually allow this blade to ascend or drop further, okay? So if you've got a knoll and a driveway and you want that blade to stay in contact with the driveway surface, you can roll this plate forward to make sure that as you go up over that knoll, the likelihood of your blade coming up off the ground is far less, all right? So, yeah, it works out really, really good. However, it does seem to be that over the summer with the heat and, you know, temperature going up and down as normal, you know, there's a little bit of air, or I should say pressure maybe. Maybe I lost some oil. I can't really tell. It was sitting in tall grass. So any evidence that would have been apparent has been weed whacked and well, basically the evidence is gone. So I can only imagine that there was some sort of leak. Naturally, air is air, so whatever air is in here is probably still there. So in that case, likely it would be probably fluid, or I should say liquid, which would be the oil. So I'm going to loosen one side of this hose, and I'll pop it off the cylinder, and that will basically make it so that I can take this straw here, okay, stick it down in the hydraulic fluid in the drum, and basically plug the top, pick it up, and just drop it down in this hose, so that I know that this cylinder's topped off. I might just take both sides off so I can visually see both sides of the cylinder. Otherwise, I do end up kind of filling up this hose, and I lose that cushion, right? So let me do what I need to do to take this off, and we'll inspect a little bit further, see what I'm dealing with as far as loss of any fluid or anything like that. So let's see what I can do here. All right, so I got the one side of the hose undone, and there's plenty of fluid on this side of the ram, or I should say on this side of the cylinder where the ram is. It's full to the brim, so that's good. It's exactly what I wanted. Now it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find out how much is here exactly. Once I started taking this apart, I remembered exactly why I was thinking of leaving this side on, because I couldn't get it to budge when I did this modification. So this hose, where it's here, where it's mounted here, is original to the design of Snowway, and this hose went forward over here to this plate where the pump and the electronic system and all was mounted. So this has never been removed, and probably never will be unless something really goes bad, like this hose or something, and it leaves me no choice. At that point, it doesn't matter if I destroy the fitting. It's got to come off for a replacement if that were to happen. So I'm going to take some hydraulic fluid in the straw, and I'm going to drop it down here in the hose a little bit. I'm just going to add some, and you know, and call it good. So we'll get to it. So because there's really no venting, this fluid's not going to go down in there as quickly as I'd like it to. Probably not going to have too much success with that. So some plans seem like a great idea until you start trying it, and then you realize that it wasn't going to work so hot regardless. Whoop. All right, well, that'll have to be good enough. It's redneck engineering, you know. You can really only expect it to get so good. So boy. Must have found a rock. Wonder where my girl went. Timber, where you at, kiddo? Timber. Timber's my dog. She's my little sidekick. She's a mini Australian Shepherd, and she doesn't get to be in the videos very often. A lot of times because when I'm out here doing stuff, I'm usually in a machine with poor visibility and trying to get things done in a reasonable amount of time. So I get worried sick about her while I'm in the machine and doing my thing. So I opt to keep her either in the office or in the house with the other family dogs. But yeah, she's my buddy. She loves being with me, whether it's the skid loader, the excavator. My wife and I used to do a lot of snowmobiling and riding side-by-sides and things like that. So it don't matter to her if it's a car or anything else. If it's got a motor and it likes to scoot along, she loves going for rides. It doesn't matter what it is. So where is that little monster? Hey, Timber, come here, honey. Timber, come. I'll be back in a second. I want to make sure she's not following another dog across the other neighborhood. All right, so almost forgot to turn the camera back on. So I'm kind of on to the next thing here, which is one of the other things I'm pretty sure I mentioned in one of the previous videos is I got a switch trying to hold these up so that the fluid doesn't come spewing out so easily. Got to switch these ends. I guess that could have gone a lot worse. All right, so stand it up over there. I apologize. Some of this stuff going on is going to be out of view, but trying to minimize the mess. Okay. All right. So get this going fast here, that way. Oh, it doesn't, what do you call it? My efforts don't go in vain. Okay, that one's on. That would be a bummer. Wouldn't be the first time it happened, but it'd be a bummer to put these fittings back on and the precise wrong application again. Get a little distracted before you know it, putting it right back where you're taking it away from. Okay, that's on there. At least good enough to, okay. All right. So, of course, two, there we go, I should do it. Almost went the wrong way there, I don't know why. Guess my brain's on backwards today. What's going on, Timber? See anything exciting out there? No? I didn't think so. Neighbor's putting a new roof on, a new neighbor. Just moved into the neighborhood. I bought the house my brother-in-law grew up in. And, one of those small town stories. Good story. But we'll have to see. You know what they say, can't pick your neighbors. Seems like a pretty good guy so far. We'll have to see what the future brings. You know, us farmers can be kind of, and I say farmers in a joking light. I mean, we're horse people. Really wouldn't call us farmers. We tend to be a little bit noisy. fixing tractors and other equipment that you might use on a large property, like, well, larger property. Of course, you got to remember we live in northern New Jersey, so anything from an acre up to 100 acres is considered a large property. So we have 11 acres here. Nothing to write home about, but it is a little slice of heaven. This town that we live in is kind of like a well-kept secret. A whole lot going on here. Every once in a while we have a odd thing take place. It's not typical of the area, but for the most part, we're a pretty safe area. Don't mind me. Schmutz off the bottom of the cylinder. And I think we're good with this. So this here, I plan to, honestly, I said this last year, I planned this summer to build a step here. So I wanted to get some expanded metal, or yeah, I guess it's still considered expanded metal, the ones that have the where they punch through and it pushes the teeth, the sharp, jagged metal up through so you get good traction. Pretty sure that's also called expanded metal. I could be wrong. But I wanted to put one of those here, like a tread plate, and you know, off the middle, maybe make a, right in this area. I don't know if you can see much of what I'm doing here in the camera. But, you know, angle iron and make 2 spots to put a couple bolts there. So I have a 3 bolt place, well, 3 locations triangulated basically for bolting that plate on. So it's right here. So in the wintertime, when I'm going from in and out of the machine, it's safe, because there's been a couple times this past winter when using this thing where I really didn't have a whole lot of great options to put my feet on in a slippery situation. And this tray here, I plan on taking out, you know, this old brain for the old pump system and everything. And they got this solenoid here and all that. Probably grind these tabs, the welds for these tabs off, get rid of those. And I want to put like a some sort of a toolbox here for, you know, whatever. Maybe extra O-rings, hydraulic line fittings, maybe a couple pre-made lines, you know, for these pieces here. So that way if something fails and I'm out there, I can, you know, take a new one, put it on, and on site and be done. So that's where I'm going with that. Now over here, I don't know, hoping you can see. No, you really can't. Let me change camera angles here so I can kind of show you a little bit better what I'm doing. All right, so I had my hydraulic lines in the way here. It took me a minute to get them out of the way. I figured the best place for them was in the receptacles for the auxiliaries on the boom. So over here, there is a steel, it's like an ear, I guess. It's looks like 1/4-inch steel, and it actually is part of the bracketry system to hold the spring here and the tensioner. So this is a 2-spring setup, pretty light duty. But this extra tab here, I have intentions of making like a strap system. So a nylon strap. Might take some old, what do you call it? J-hooks or flat hooks from some of my trucking straps. And I would like to weld the hook here and bring that strap up to about here and weld another plate here to double up or even triple up the strength of a large patch here on the back, and then weld off of there, another piece of some sort that I'd have to come up with a way to do it, to put the other end of the nylon strap here. So, and I would do it on both sides, they're identical. And so basically the strap would be loose, right? So, but the reason why, let me explain the reason why. So the reason why I want to do this is it's a limiting strap. Okay, so it's like suspension on some of the off-road trucks, right? So when they, have extremely long travel suspension, they put limiting straps on for different applications for off-road, So I don't really know a lot of the technical terms, or I'm not going to be able to be super precise as to why, all the reasons why they have different variations of a limiting strap for suspension, but it's the same concept. It prevents the stroke from going further than they want it to, right? So that's exactly what this would be. So it would limit the amount of forward lean that this trip edge has, because these springs are pretty light and they trip relatively easily, okay? So there's really not a whole lot more tension I can put on these springs. And I was also told by somebody who works with plows, not as much doing snow removal and maintenance or management, but they work for a company that specializes in plows for snow and all that stuff. And they had said that if you stretch a spring too far, it will also make it weak, because it's sitting under tension the whole time it's in existence. And because of that, over time, it will begin to trip even easier, and then likely at some point the spring will fail. So continuing to tighten it, and stretch out the spring is not ideal, because that would mean that I'd have to unload the spring by readjusting this all the way back every time I use the plow, or twice a season, 3 times a season, whatever interval that would work out to be, which I don't know that equation. So just having a limiting strap. So maybe if this thing went down, instead of 90 degrees face down, if it went 45, or something like that, would be a lot better, because when it trips, I stop the machine, so whether it trips all the way down to the ground or it trips 45, to prevent damage from the ground, whoever's place it is I might be helping out or whatever, to prevent that damage, I'm gonna stop or slow down the machine, and lift the blade up over that obstruction or whatever. So I would do the same things with the strap limiter as though I didn't have one. The only thing I'm trying to avoid by putting the limiting strap on it is the extreme harsh flip back that it does. Being here on the horse farm, we hit a lot of underground things, frost heaves up rocks and whatever. You might have a rut from a tire on a soft, a day that things got a little soft, and then it froze overnight and you got a snowstorm, and you find them. You find those ruts. So it would just make it so that this thing's not tearing itself apart. I'd rather replace a pin or a bushing or a bolt or something than completely have to tear this thing down, fix broken welds, all kinds of stuff. I enjoy welding, but not that much. So, but that's it as far as the plow. I guess what I'll do is I'll set you guys up. I'll fire up the machine and goof around with the controls, make sure I didn't do what I was afraid I was going to do. and you know, put these stupid fittings back on where I took them out of. So we'll see if I did a good job or not. Let me get this thing up out of the way. So, as you can see, it's lifting up off the ground, but it's not lifting up as much as I had it working last year. So, probably gonna have to, I angled that, what do you call it, the quick attach part on this track loader forward a little bit in the dump position to get that stroke, that cylinder stroke, in a different spot. So I'm gonna have to take that hose back off the one side and add fluid or take out fluid or whatever from one side to the other to get it about where I need it to be.